Hi guys, and welcome back to the Uninkable Dads podcast. And on this week's episode, we'll be going through our week in the ink, telling you a little bit about what happened at our locals. We'll be going through our favourite text game from last week. And is Lorcana too expensive as a hobby? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll discuss the topic. So, before further ado, let's jump into the episode. Okay, so week in the ink. So, how did we get on this week? Well, we actually we had a little meet-up, didn't we, early Friday? We went down to our locals to help out with a Learn to Play event. We both took a bit of time off work and got down there nice and early.
Well,
how did it go?
One of us got down there early.
Well,
I ended up managing to turn up halfway through. I left you with the to manage the crowds of people that were down there, but you didn't struggle too badly, though, did you?
No. I mean, it's quite easy to handle a crowd of zero sometimes. So, unfortunately, we didn't get anyone turn up. But I think it's one of those ones. It's Easter holidays as well. Easter half term, so a lot of people have a lot of things going on. But we were there. Like you say, it's one of those ones we've got to try these things, and hopefully, you never know. Next time, people might want to pop in. But our local store, which is Get Retreat Chelmsford, they saw us sitting there playing a few test games, and they said, right, we need some singles, so would you mind opening a booster box for us? So we did. We worked our way through a booster box, and we got some nice pulls. I think we got 5 or 6 legendaries.
We did. We got a shiny.
We did.
Shiny Scrooge, was it?
I don't know. We got a Scrooge, but I can't remember what the shiny was.
Okay.
But yeah, we got a Scrooge and a couple others, and then we got towards the end of the pack, and then went, we should play Pack Rush. And it was like, damn it, we've only got 6 packs left. Oh, well, we'll put 4 aside and play Pack Rush. This is the video here in the background. And then we thought, we may as well play Pack Rush for the last 2. So we set it all up. We did set this up to do a video on how to play Pack Rush, but we think most people will kind of get the gist of the game, and we thought we could just do a brief description now instead of a 15-minute long video on how to play a game that lasts normally 10 to 15 minutes. You don't need a 15-minute long video on how to play it. So, as you can see there, we've basically opened our 2 packs. We've put the 2 description cards or art cards, depending on what set you're opening, at the back, down as our ink straight away. So you start off the game with 2 ink. You draw 5 cards instead of 7, and then you basically then mulligan out. You can mulligan all 5 if you wish. But obviously the way you do it is when you shuffle the deck, you try not to look at it. So we have no idea what's in this deck. We're just taking a bit of a chance, and you just shuffle through and see what you pick up.
Yeah, it's a nice way to play Lorcana because first of all, it makes you look at the cards. So as you say, you don't know what you're playing with until you turn a card over. So it's kind of a nice surprise, especially if you turn over something that's a shiny or a card that you're particularly after. So you have to practice your poker face on this one. But it makes you look at cards as well that you wouldn't necessarily normally look at. So cards that don't always see play. And actually, we discovered a couple as we played through, didn't we? I think you ended up with a couple of really interesting cards that aren't necessarily ones that I think the cards that would see some play, but they're not common in the meta.
Yeah, they're not in meta decks, but they're definitely playable. So
I think
really I got very lucky to be honest with my cards.
You kind of did get the Pack Rush packs, didn't you? They were kind of you got the perfect cards for Pack Rush, but that's the way it goes. It was good fun, but it's never a chore if somebody says, "Would you like to sit there and open a box of cards that you haven't even paid for?" Unfortunately, we had to give them back, but hey,
you still get the excitement of opening it.
You get the fun of opening it, exactly.
And plus, then the way I look at it is right. So, unfortunately, we didn't pull them at an enchanted forum. But the way I look at it is we open 12 packs each, and therefore we are 12 packs closer to pulling our enchanted, you see.
That's very true.
In the natural cycle of pack opening, we're now 12 packs closer to our own enchanted. So, Yeah,
very, very true. Very true.
But we basically went through, played a game Pack Rush, and it's basically the first 2 15 instead of 20. If you run out of cards in your deck, you basically shuffle your discard and go again. And it's, like I say, it's a short little game, especially as it's something you can pick up if you're someone who's slowly building your collection. It's a good idea if you're buying a few packs to play a few games Pack Rush, because it's repetition for the game. It gets you into the ready set draw that we discussed in the learn to play. Also inking, and it's there's a little bit of decision you have to make, because you don't know what's in your deck, you don't know what's coming next. But it is exciting in that way, especially as you could turn over the next card and it could be enchanted, and you're like, where's the sleeve?
So do make sure that you're playing on a play mat or a very clean surface, and just be careful when you're shuffling your cards.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Cool. But that wasn't the only game that we played this week. We had to have the final showdown, the playoff that never happened at locals, where we both went 3-0. So we played that during the week. Gonna be cruel. How did that go?
I knew it. I was thinking he hasn't said. It went really well. I planned on losing that game because it's a broken deck, and that's what happened. No, you played extremely well. And did I get one game, or was it 2-0?
It was 2-0, unfortunately. But to be fair, Hiram knew he was banned, didn't he? So Hiram had been banned, and he refused to show up for you in either game. So you did struggle with drawing the cards. So I was a bit fortunate in that one, but happy to take the win.
Oh yeah, it's luck. It's the wonderful game we play. It's the luck of the draw. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good. So you went down. It was a good job you finished first, then, wasn't it? It's a good job that Melee obviously knew that was going to be the case and put you in first place. So
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to a slightly different meta this week.
Had I have not won that last game and finished first, I would have ended up in third place, and I would have got the pack with the Enchanted in. Panos pulled an Enchanted out of his third place back, didn't he? So
there you
go.
That's a good point. And then he went and did it again this week.
Yeah,
that's back to back 2 weeks in a row. He got one. Not obviously for us. It's the Friday just gone. The Friday just gone was a completely different meta. I took a discard deck and it just didn't play very well at all. I mean, I come fourth. I didn't do too bad out of like 18 people or whatever it was there. But I think Panos come second.
Yeah.
I think he come second and he got another Enchanted. Which is
he won it again. Sorry, no, he won it. He won it.
Oh, he won this
second,
time. Yeah, and got another Enchanted. So the Enchanted Lucky Geek is high at the minute, So you definitely got to come down and play, because there's Enchanteds flying around everywhere.
Absolutely. Come and join us.
So talking about the Enchanteds, obviously Enchanted cards obviously sell for a fair amount, but what do you reckon on Lorcana as a hobby as a whole, as expensive, or do you reckon it's a level playing field in amongst all the other hobbies out there?
Yeah, so this is interesting because we often kind of refer to Lorcana as being fairly expensive, term expensive cardboard, and myself. But actually, it depends how you want to go about it, because you can splash lots and lots of money out on some very, very shiny cards. But actually, if you compare it to other hobbies, I'm not sure it actually is that expensive. So, if you are looking into Lorcana, have a think about it versus other hobbies. So, I know you play some cricket. I played a bit of cricket too in my younger days, but not so much. You still play. What sort of money do you need to get your equipment to start playing cricket these days?
But this is the thing, when you really look at it, by the time you've bought, say, a cricket bat, a half decent, not just a random one, but if you pick a half decent one, it's going to cost you £100 to £200, depending on how far you want to go. You can go right up there and get ridiculous amounts, but then I suppose that's where you get the comparison of, argument's sake, sticking enchanted cards in your deck or normal cards? You know, do you buy that
Yeah.
base cricket bat, or do you buy the really expensive cricket bat? It's the same sort of concept, and you know that a cricket bat can easily be 150, 200 quid, and then by the time you bought your pads, your whites, your everything else that goes with it, and then you've also got your membership fee to the club that you play for. You've got your subs on the day that you play. You know, so
And what do you typically
it racks up.
pay when you play a game? What's your typical sort of match fee?
So normally it depends on where you are, but it's around 10 to
Yeah.
15. Depends if they're supplying teas and stuff like that. So, but you know, it's basically the same. If not, Lorcana's actually, you know, our standard Friday night is actually cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, it
And
costs
if
less for
you
me to go on a Friday night and play Lorcana than it does to go play cricket. So,
and if you're not into sports, you might be a gamer. Again, you've got to have a console or a PC. They're expensive to play on. You've got to have some sort of monthly subscription these days to get online and play events and things. So, yeah, if you compare that, as we said, there's different ways of doing it, but we've shown you already on previous episodes of the podcast some competitive decks that are £100 or lower. And have a look back at the Green Purple Master when Chris brought really interesting deck along. Really good fun to play. Looked like it could hold its own at locals. And what was that? I mean, that was like 50 quid or something, wasn't it? It was,
yeah, something like that.
quite a cheap deck. So really, yes, you can get beautiful playmats. Yes, you can get flashy dice, but realistically, you need a deck of cards to get yourself started. You want some sleeves. You want to keep those cards nice.
Yeah.
But again, you can hop over to VaultX. You can buy your sleeves from there. A deck box just to protect your cards. And if you use code Uninkable at the checkout, you get 10% off. So there you go. We're giving you bargain deck lists and discounts on your accessories. But really, once you've got that, as you say, it's like eight quid, I think, on a Friday evening to go and play Lorcana at our locals. You get a pack for entry, so you are building your card collection.
Yeah. So when you look at it like that, you're basically paying £3 to play, aren't you? Because £5 for the pack.
So yeah, I mean, if crikey, if you went out to the cinema, if you're not into hobbies and that was your thing, you thought I'd go to a cinema on a Friday night and go and have a quick drink and a meal at Nando's or something afterwards. Yeah, you haven't got any upfront costs to that, but again, your costs every week are way above what your costs are to play Lorcana. So if you want to get into this hobby and you want to play it, you can do so at quite a reasonable amounts of money. And then if you want to build up and you want to play multiple different decks, different colors, you want the fancy binders, you want to chase those shiny Tamatoa enchanted cards, it's all there. You can do that, but you don't have to do any of that to really enjoy this game.
No, exactly. It's like anything. There's quite a few players that like to put foils in their deck, So it's like a giant cobra, for instance. If you needed 4 of them from Card Market, say you had your locals didn't have any, no one else has got any, so you have to buy them online. They're going to cost you 8p for the cards and then the postage. Yeah, you could buy the foil ones. Then it's going to cost you, I don't know, I think they're about £6 each.
Right.
So then that's £24 and the thing. So there's a jump in the foils, but there's nothing stopping you running a deck with all normal cards, and that's going to bring the prices down. And like you say, it's like anything. It's if you're going to go play football, for instance, it's the difference between having £30 pair of boots and £180 pair of boots. It's the same thing. It's depend on how much you want to spend on the hobby. It depends on what you do. You can run a relatively low to the ground cheap deck and still come and enjoy locals. So obviously if you want to go out and buy all the enchantments to go into your deck, and by all means, you can do. But if not, if you just want to keep it low to the ground and go to locals, go ahead. I mean, most of those decks that we've shown you will do well at set champs. We've got the local meta coming up now that's massively changed since the ban. And, what do you think we're going to be seeing at set champs? Do you think we're going to be able to see some of these spicy little combo decks?
Yeah, so I think it's a really open field. It's like controversial here and say I currently hate the meta. There's lots of people like,
Bring back
hey,
him. Bring
exactly.
back
I never had a problem. I always had a brawl in my hand. You know, he got 2 cards. I brawled him. He went away. Yeah, I did about the same as a rabbit, so I always thought that was fair. No, I don't know. I like a challenge. I like a problem to solve. So I kind of like the idea that there was this common baddie that we were all kind of trying to work out the way to beat. So now it's really open. I mean, really
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for those that haven't played set champs before or aren't quite sure what they are, if you've played at your locals, you'll have probably played 3 rounds of what we call Swiss, where you're randomly paired against someone round 1, and then you're paired against someone with a similar record to you rounds 2 and 3. You don't play everybody, but then there's a point system and it works out who come top at the end of that. So set champs is kind of a similar thing, but you'll probably be playing 4 or 5 rounds, maybe 6, depending on the number of players. It's normally 4 or 5 rounds, but then cutting to a top 8 at the end of that. The top 8 in the standings then play knockout, so quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals for some shiny prizes. So everybody that enters the set champs gets a promo card, which you can only get from entering set champs. The top 8 then get a shiny, in fact enchanted version of that promo card, and then the overall champion walks away with a playmat with the same image on it as its hero Hamada for Arcasia's Island, and champion on it, and the ability to turn up at your locals next week, roll out that mat, and flex away. So yeah, that's what set champs are. If you've not played in one, it is a step up in terms of sort of competitive level, but I think we've always found people still really enjoying this game, still really fun to play in, not overly serious. But yeah, we're going to see a lot of different decks.
Yeah, I think so. I think, like you say, it's really, really opened it up now. We've gone from Sapphire Steel and Ruby Sapphire being the 2 almost tier 0 decks. They're the highest, they're the best, they beat anything, to it being wide open now. There's Ruby Amethyst is coming back. You got discard coming back. So you got green steel discard, you got lemon lime discard, you got purple green discard. So there's 3 more decks there that didn't see any play because Harima is just too powerful of a card draw. So now you've got all these different decks coming back. It means that instead of a room of 20 people playing 3, maybe 4 different decks, if you've got a couple of rogue outliers there, you're going to have a room through 20 players, and it literally could be 10 different decks out there. So it makes it really good. And that's where these off-brand little decks. I don't want to use the word little decks because they're not. You can still win with them. The video we did where the deck challenge I did, for instance, that is what I'd call a little deck. It's a random deck, but you can beat a good deck with it. It's a case of if you get the right cards at the right time, you can win the game. So those I'm going to call them outlier decks, like the ones that aren't seeing much play, but they've still got the potential. At the end of the day, all the cards have lore pips on, and to win the game, you get to 20. So you can win with any cards. You just gotta get them in the right order. So, but yeah, I think there will be. I think there'll be a few surprises. There's definitely going to be a few decks out there that win set champs and win locals, and you're like, where on earth did that come from? Hopefully, probably from our podcast. No one loves playing the random decks we come up with.
Indeed. And if you take puppies to set champs and win, drop us a line.
Yeah, definitely.
Send us the deck list, send us a photo. We'll be absolutely over the moon to give you a shout out for that one. So talking about being able to take anything to locals, or thinking about something that's maybe off meta or a little bit spicy, we've had a look at some decks that did very well in some large tournaments this weekend. So these are decks that have performed sort of top 16s or top 8s of tournaments with quite a number of players in, some quite large prizes, and we're seeing a real variety in those decks. So we thought we'd just have a quick look through some of them to give you an idea of some of the decks that are around. So what's the first deck that we've got here then?
Yeah, so we've got a Amber Ruby deck, and this one I've played against this a few times online since the tournament, and it's pretty good. Unfortunately, this isn't on the cheaper end. This is a more expensive deck, but there's a couple cards in here that really lift it up. So the Rapunzels aren't cheap at all; they're quite expensive cards. Same with Maui and Sisu. So these three cards here are what really lifting this deck up. These aren't quite right. These are a little bit out, but that's a £50 card, £20 and 16, and then 8. So these are the cards. Foster's about 8 as well. So there's a few cards there that are really lifting this deck up. But in general, it looks quite good. And like you say, you've got a few tech cards in there that really do add a bit.
You've got Lumiere in there, which seems to be making a bit of comeback. I've sort of seen people playing Lumiere in some Ruby Amethyst decks as well. Card Soldiers is interesting. They've got one copy of Card Soldiers in here, which is an interesting tech idea. It's a 1-drop, 1/2, quest for 1, but while a damaged character is in play, this character gets +2, and there are a couple of characters, I think, in this deck that come into play already damaged. So that's obviously what that's trying to do. Yeah, I think you've got the Mulan and the Mother Gothel there. They both come into play damaged. You got the Prince Eric in there, which I love. That's a card that I have tried to play and get to work in Ruby Amethyst a few times. You just struggle with the number of uninkable slots because it's a 4-cost uninkable. 2/2 Prince Eric, Expert Helmsman. He quests for 2, but when this character is banished, you may banish chosen character. So he kind of sits on the board and goes, yeah, I'm going to quest for 2, or you can take me out, but if you do, I'm going to take out whatever your biggest threat is. And if they decide not to take him out and they've got a big threat on board, you can obviously just swing him into something and immediately clear their big threat. So I've always thought he was a really interesting card, and this deck is playing 3 copies of him.
There's quite a few little spicy cards in there. Like I say, Prince Eric is just so good. He's uninkable. That's the only downside. I mean, this deck's done quite well. There's only 14 in here. So this might be one to try. This isn't a cheap deck, like we say. So obviously, we recommend testing this before going out and buying the cards if this is something you do want to try. But there are a couple of other, I'd say, slightly cheaper options that we found. So this one is something that we don't currently see getting much play at the moment, which is Emerald Sapphire. So with Emerald Sapphire, a lot of the stuff is going to be bouncing stuff back to hand, discard, just general disruption. Their idea is basically to stop you doing your game plan, basically. So you've got Mother Gothel, which bounces back, the Muse, which will bounce stuff back. They're going to have Ward, again, Mother Gothel to bounce stuff. And then they've got the big Cloudbell here. So their plan would be to, with Mother Gothel and Muse, to bounce your cards back to your hand, build up your hand. And you're thinking, oh, I've just got loads of cards, I'll just play them back out. And then they'll play Bentama Wheel. They'll probably play Cloudbell first, draw off how many cards you've got. So if you've got 10 cards in hand, they will empty their hand, play as much as possible, and then draw up to however many you've got. And then the turn after, play Bentama Wheel and just discard your whole hand before you get a chance to do anything with it. So they're very disruption heavy. A lot of songs for Mother Gothel, the Muses to use. But yeah, again, it looks like quite an interesting deck. This is one of those ones that...
Yeah, I'm interested to see Tamatoa in this deck. So this deck normally focuses around the songs rather than the items. But we've got Tamatoa in there, and we've got a few. So we've got some Popsicle, we've got Sapphire Coil. Sapphire Coil makes a lot of sense, right? Because Muses allows you to bounce back a character that's strength 2 or less. So the Coil is going to obviously increase the opportunity that you can do that.
Yeah,
It's
the other
interesting.
one. Yeah, I think this gives your character ward when you banish it. So I suppose by playing Tamatoa, you can potentially give a couple bits ward, but it looks again like a very interesting deck. I think you could probably get away without the Tamatoas here, and the Tamatoas are £46 each,
Yeah.
roughly. So I think if you took the Tamatoas out, you could potentially put something like Kit in there, which also does bounce. Kit's going to be a lot cheaper, and this deck would probably come right down. Obviously, the guy who played it did really well and finished quite high up in the tournament, so he probably knows more about the deck than I do. But if you wanted to make this deck, but a budget-friendly version of it, you probably could take those Tamatoas out. We could actually have a quick look. So this is, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, this is Dreamborn, so this is the deck building website most people use. There isn't a one coming, which we'll hopefully discuss on next week's episode. But if we take the Tamatoas out, and we'll put a Kit in, for instance, which is going to let you bounce things as well, you're all of a sudden taking this down to pretty much £100. So it's a big difference with Kit instead of the Tamatoa. But like I say, I didn't build this deck. I'm sure he knows more about the deck than I do. And then the other one we found is from a different tournament. They still finished in the top 8, I believe. But this is a Amethyst Steel. So,
Oh, I like the look of this. So, yeah, this has got a couple of the Maleficents in. I like that.
there's a lot of decks now going really high with 1-drops, isn't there? So there's 14 1-drops in this, which is,
I mean, when you've got 1-drops
crazy.
that are that good as well. So,
well, yeah,
12 of those 1-drops are replacing themselves, potentially. And then Maleficent's questing for 2. We've got the bounce. We've got 2 snakes, 4 foxes, so we can sort of bounce Maleficent there, bounce Doc, because Doc is our sort of essential card drawer in here. We've got some Smees. What's the other 2-drop that's in there?
Oh, sorry, Calhoun.
So we've got Peter Pan Shadow Finder in here as well, which is another card that's come out of the shadows, pun intended, with the expectation there's going to be a lot of Diablo about. Peter Pan is a 3-cost, uninkable, 2/3, rush evasive, so he can come rush in himself, could take out Diablo if it's not on the cove, but it gives your other characters with evasive rush as well. So we've got Genie in here, I guess, is the key one. So Genie's going to suddenly be able to come and rush in on 4. And that's it in this deck, though, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no other evasives in here, but they've also got the songs, haven't they? So you've got Fire the Cannon, Smash, and Strength. So there's 3, really good tempo cards to be able to swing it back. Again, this is around the £200 mark, but again, there are some high cards in here that you could potentially look at swapping out. So Calhoun, Callahan, 2 of in here, you could probably change it out if you needed to for something else. It is one of the better 2-drops in the game, but you could easily change 1 for a Doc to bring your Doc up, and then you could even go Man of him. It is a very good card, but it's not essential for this to really run.
Yeah, you can maybe think about the Helga Sinclair, because that's answering the
evasive as well.
The evasive. It's a nice sort of body on it because it's a 4 willpower.
Challenger 3, I believe.
Challenge 3, yeah. So it's doing a similar job, other than it's not gaining the lore when it banishes something. So it's obviously a slower card, but
and then I think the only other one is Genie, which you could replace out for the rabbits. It's not quite as good, but it's it's a draw engine for you. And then Strength, but there's nothing you can do about Strength. This is one of those cards, unfortunately, you are going to need in deck, and it is that sort of price. So that is the one card that's kind of stuck in this deck. But even then, this isn't too bad for something that basically come top 8 in I think this was a 1,000-person tournament, or it was a 1K. So it was a 1K tournament.
Okay.
And they finished top 8 with it. So it's obviously, pretty strong. And we're not talking these £500, £600, £700 decks. So, you can definitely win it with with something lower in the price range. So, as we said, it is or can be an expensive hobby if you wish it to be, but it doesn't have to be.
Cool. So there are a few different decks that you might want to take a look at. As we said, Dreamborn.inc is a great place to go and have a look at what decks people are putting together. You can go onto decks there and look at popular or trending. Pick the ink combination that you're interested in. If there is a color combination you like, have a look at what other people have put together. Inkdex.com as well is another great resource that will show you recent tournaments and the decks that have done well in those tournaments. So if you're looking for something that you think is going to have a chance in set champs, those are some good resources to go and check out.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, we'll leave all the decks we show on our episodes in the description below, so you'll be able to check them out down there. It is up to you. So going on from there, we have a few little bits, like little public service announcements, just to make people aware if they're not already. We have a few shows coming up. So there is the London Card Show, which is due the 9th to the 11th of May. So that's in London at Sandown Racecourse. There's going to be loads of different things there. There'll be a bit of Lorcana, Pokemon, Magic. There's so much on. There's too much on for us to go through what's there. So obviously, please check out their website. I know a few people who have been in the past. It's there's a great place to take kids. They do like raffles and like they've got a kids zone and all sorts. So it's a nice one. On a slightly smaller side, for local, we have the Essex Card Show, which is in the Brentwood Centre, which is going to be a bit smaller. Again, same sort of thing. There'll be a few vendors there. So I believe a lot of the local stores and stuff might take stuff down, so you'll be able to check out them, introduce yourself to them. There'll be, again, Pokemon, Magic, Lorcana, so you'll be able to go down and check out a few bits there. But then the big one, which I think is going to be the next big tournament-wise, until we get to DLC, is the UK Games Expo. Now, I didn't actually know about this. You actually told me about this evening. So, what's going down there?
Yeah, so if you want a weekend of Lorcana and many other card games, there'll be Magic the Gathering. I suspect there'll be Star Wars. I didn't say it on the site, but there'll be lots of games going on at the expo. It runs 30th of May till the 1st of June, so it's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's at the NEC in Birmingham, so it's going to be a huge deal. And if you want to play some Lorcana, then the Friday, I believe, is the release of Reign of Jafar set 8, and they have a sealed event on the Friday, so you'll be able to get hold of your shiny new Reign of Jafar cards, open them up, play some sealed, and on the Saturday there is a core constructed tournament. The prizing is phenomenal. There's side events as well, there's pack rush and things, but just for the Saturday core constructed, it's £30 entry. Each player gets 6 booster packs. They're from sort of different sets, so you've pretty much got your money's worth already. You play your tournament. If you come in the top 64, then you get another 6 booster packs on top. If you make it all the way through and you are the grand champion, you get 1 booster box, so a box of 24 packs from each of the first 8 sets. So including the first chapter, which is almost impossible to get hold of nowadays. So you walk away with 8. So yeah, you need to make sure you've got a big suitcase because you're taking back 8 boxes, and you also get a play. Yeah, and you also get a play mat as well, which is an exclusive play mat from UK Games Expo. So so loads of ways to play Lorcana. You can play at your set champs throughout May, and you can play at some of these local card shows, or you can go up and play in a really, really big tournament.
Yeah, and anyone who's likes to know, maths and figures out there, then the 8 booster boxes would only be, 2,304 cards. So, it's not that much. It adds something to your collection, It's not too bad, I suppose.
Yeah.
Only the equivalent of 2 cases.
Yeah, we've been saying, about how to get started in Lorcana and play it for cheap. I mean, pick up a starter deck for 18 quid, pay your 30 quid entry, go and win the tournament with the starter deck, and you walk away with 8 booster boxes. You're away.
Yeah, that's it. It's possible to win. Like I said, all cards. Well, not all cards, but 99% of the cards all have lore pips on, and that's how you win the game. So, as far as I'm concerned, you can win the game with any card. You just got to get a little bit of luck on your side on the day, and you never know what can happen. Okay, guys. So, as always, we have the flavor text game for you. So last week's flavor text was, "There's nothing he can't talk his way out of." Now, I don't know whether I made this a little bit obvious, a little bit easy, but I did get told by one person that they got it instantly. So I was like, okay, fair enough. So if you did comment, thank you very much. We've had a couple of comments, and I had a couple of people come to me, and they worked it out. So which is nice. So it was Thomas O'Malley. We had Thomas O'Malley as a discussion in the last episode about how powerful he was with a 4 strength from Ward, and we decided to pick Thomas for the last one. So, would you like to give everyone this week's flavor text?
Yeah, so if you remember from Michael telling you before that there's different sort of symbols, this one has got the book symbol, so it is actually a line out of the movie, and it says, "It's been fun, guys, but I gotta be going. Yahoo!" I'm sure the Yahoo was exactly like that.
Yeah, so if it doesn't quite say Yahoo on the card, it's probably, to make sure you get the Yahoo bit right. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I'm struggling to work out who would be screaming Yahoo. I like that. I like that one. So, yeah, drop us a comment below. And while you're there, please hit that subscribe button and, tick that little bell icon so you get notified of videos that come out. And, hopefully everyone enjoyed the episode this week. Is there anything you'd like to bring up before we go?
Put me on the spot now. Yeah, Ruby Amethyst is back, baby. So,
well, I wouldn't go that far. I'll give you its due. It's now fully off life support. The doctor is no longer standing in the room. That they check in every now and then, but it's still in the ward at the minute. We'll put it as that. So, but yeah, thank you very much for joining, and it's time to roll up that playmat.
Pack away the dice.
Remember, stay uninkable.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Today, listen to the show and learn to play. Whether you are new or you're a pro, I'm sure we have something to show. Amber, green, red, and steel, then purple, blue, complete our wheel. Listen and you'll learn some new strats to help you win some championship mats. So what ink color are you gonna choose? Inkable or uninkable? It is up to you. Choose